Alright guys, what's going on? So today we're going to discuss primarily about Ethereum, but we'll probably get into other altcoins as well. But what we're really going to do is just discuss why Ethereum and altcoins underperformed and why they didn't really make new all-time highs and why they've just suffered so badly this cycle, right? So we're going to start off here with the Ethereum log regression band because I think this is honestly a really important metric, and we're going to switch to a weekly time frame just so we can look at it on a bigger scope. So what do we see about ETH, right? This is our log regression band, right? Technically, this is supposed to show how ETH should have performed basically as it was born, but obviously it's outperformed the log regression band. But it's still useful because it shows us kind of a different view of kind of how this asset is, right? What we're going to start off with here is let's just look into when Bitcoin and ETH bottomed at the bottom of this cycle. So what we'll do is we'll overlay Bitcoin. So when did they bottom, right? It was back here, right? So what we can do, if we can go just from right back here, that's our lowest wick. And we'll change this to green just so we know that's our cycle bottom, okay? What do we see here this entire time with Ethereum? It basically tried to ride the fair value all the way up, right? So this is our value. Our VWAP is our value, right? The whole time it was kind of just riding this up. It retested the center of it, ride it up, tried to hold above it, fell below, didn't get acceptance here, and went to the bottom of the range. Retested it here and pushed up, didn't hold above, and fell back into value again, and now it's riding the middle of the band again, right? So what this tells us is there is no acceptance upwards, right? Like there's no higher time frame acceptance, right? Remember how many times ETH rejected 4K? So let's just go here, go over, right? 1, 2, 3, right? And honestly, you could sort of like argue 4 because it did this before dropping almost 1,000 points, right? So I'm going to call it 3, but you can see that in 2024, it did it twice, did it 3 times, right? ETH, you know, this right here told us, like that this exact time, the 1, 2, 3, this told us like three failed breakout attempts. That's how you knew you were getting your larger correction. Because the first two here, it failed, retested the value, pushed up, failed, retested the value down here, right? So we tested our upper value, we tested our middle value. It tried one more time, got acceptance back into value, failed to hold the middle of the value, and pushed into the lower value range, right? So let's turn this off now. Pardon me. Uh-oh. I'm turning off all the wrong things, I'm sorry. So let's take a look on just a larger scope of things, right? What has ETH always had to do before it sent? I will let you guys look. I'll let you guys figure it out. But what has ETH always had to do before it made all-time highs? I'll let you guys look for a second. Give it like 5 seconds. And see if you can figure out what it's always had to do. You guys see it yet? And it always has to go to the lower band, the very low of the band. Retest the center, push up, and make a new all-time high. To make this all-time high, again, test at the lower end of the band, pushed up. This here is a great example, and we're going to look at this in a second again. But look, it only tested the center of the band, it failed to push up, had to come down and test the lows. Retested the top of the band, reswept the lows again. So if we look at like this, for example, right? That was a resweep of the lows. So it was filling these wicks here, right? If we look at the bottom kind of the actual wick there, you can see like on the bar to bar count here, if we really zoom in, that was a full sweep of these previous wicks. Right now wicked below a little bit, but I mean what by? I mean that wasn't even $50, right? But what that was showing is this had to be filled because there's that imbalance there. And I'm sure you would see that on a TPO chart. But it had to go to the bottom of the band. When it went to the bottom of the band, then it pushed up and made a new all-time high. So the problem was, ETH was still overvalued, in my opinion, in the bottom of the bear market, right? It never went home, right? And Ben Cowan said this, and I say it too. But ETH has never gone home, right? In the last few years, it always stayed above the fair value range, which is actually good for the asset. But in terms of just patternistic and kind of algorithmic sense, it's not good because I think honestly the reason it didn't go home is the reason why it didn't break out. And I think all the big whales knew that. Like they were like, oh my god, well, this isn't right. And we've seen this cycle how it's so similar to 2019, right? I mean, look at this for example. Right? This here is this here. This like uptrend here, I'd argue is like right here. Your new sweep of the high, right? We could argue that that's like this. But again, this, right? We could just look at it this way, or even if you want to go to the top of the wicks, that's just another double top, right? So we could argue that what's happening now is I think ETH, if we're looking at this on a 2019 scale, is right here. I think ETH is right here right now, like right here. I think what it's going to do is probably going to try and do a little rally again, right? Before ultimately breaking lower to the lower part of the band. I think that's going to happen. I think it's going to go do something like this, like maybe around 35, 3600 if it does that. Maybe it's already done it. Maybe this was it right here. I don't know. But I think it's going to play out the exact same. Where it's going to come down and it's going to sweep all these lows. It's going to sweep all the lows. And it's going to push up, right? And it'll probably clear this. Right? And it's done that. It's done that before, where it kind of just like pushes up and tests it, falls back, and then pushes up, right? Same thing here. It goes to the low, pushes up, falls back, pushes up. So I think that's exactly what's going to happen. Is it's just going to come and sweep the lows before actually breaking out. And I think with how the new stablecoin act and whatnot that's came out, and how they have to be backed by treasuries bills and whatnot, and there's going to be like a lot more liquidity coming into those stablecoins that will be deployed on a market. With the amount of stablecoins that are on ETH and how many real-world assets are on ETH, I see Ethereum absolutely pushing past this, right? I see way beyond 5K. I see very high price targets. Like honestly, not even kidding. I think I genuinely see 8,000 or higher. I don't know when, but that's like a target for the next cycle. Okay. Well, let's just look at what ETH has done since it went home, right? It's done some pretty crazy rallies, like here in 2016, 2017. I guess the 2016 cycle, it did 5,000%, did 26,000%. That's fucking crazy. It did 5,000%. Right? What would be the target, right? I don't personally have one. We could do something kind of cheesy. We could just go from like, let's go to the previous all-time high to kind of the lows. Maybe we could target something up here towards 7,000, maybe 10,000. But I don't really believe in that, right? We could do something like this, where maybe in 2027 or 2028 it does go pretty high. I don't know if it goes this high, right? Like that's a pretty, I don't know, like that's a pretty crazy valuation for an altcoin. But if it was to truly, get this bullish sentiment, why couldn't it? Now I don't think it goes high. My target person would be somewhere like maybe 6,000 to 8,000, right? I'd have to probably reevaluate mid-cycle of where I think it could go. But that's just kind of some reference, to kind of understanding what this pattern is and when it breaks out and what it does, right? So I don't know. I think I would probably be looking at like stablecoin dominance when I'm making that price target decision. But going back to talking about ETH and its kind of price and what it does, right? Well, why ETH also probably didn't break out the cycle is let's go over to total 3 divided by total 3 minus USDT divided by BTC, right? This is like the altcoin God chart. Okay, what happened? The entire time, the alts have just been on a downtrend and bleeding back to Bitcoin, right? They never returned home. This is 0.25, that's 0.25, that's 0.25, that's 0.25, right? And if you look at ETH overlaid on this, right? When did you get your alt seasons? This is your alt season, right? This here, checking in with 0.25, that's your alt season, right? It never, like nothing happened, right? Like ETH kind of just did its thing. It didn't really do much, but it never, like alts never went home, if that makes sense, right? So this metric here, it just kind of shows you that, like, that's not alt season, right? And you can look at something too, like Bitcoin dominance here. Like, again, when was alt season, right? Alt season is when Bitcoin dominance fell off a cliff, right? That's your alt season. That's your alt season, right? So it just goes to show that when people were all caught off guard here about why ETH never made highs and why it did what it did, like, I think people were looking in the wrong place, right? And let's even just look at Ethereum dominance overlaid by ETH, right? What do we see? Let's actually invert this. What do we see? You guys see it now? Do you see it? Do you see the inverse correlation? Right. I'll invert it back. Let's just make sure we're all on the same page here. So when ETH dominance is high, ETH usually does pretty well, right? When ETH dominance is low, ETH doesn't perform that great. And what was it doing the entire time? Regardless if it was trying to make new highs or not. It was just on downtrend, right? And you got a low. And this low, actually, look at it. You swept the low. So these wicks here, you swept them, right? So like, let's just go across here. Look at that. Or even if, again, you want to just go from the wick, look at that, right? You know, we can look at ETH BTC as well. I don't think the lows for ETH are in. I don't think the April low was the low personally, and I've said that before. But the reason I say that is the low wasn't fully swept. Like even on a wick count, it wasn't fully swept. And I don't see how this here is going to be some double bottom rally for ETH. I just don't. Right? Like even using a 365 VWAP here, it's just rode this all the way down, and it's trying to hold the support now. But is it actually going to hold? Is it not? It's hard to say, right? I don't think the ETH for the low for ETH is in yet. I really don't. I think you would have to double bottom down here. That's just me. Maybe I'm wrong, and I'll accept being wrong. But I think ETH at least has to go sweep $1,400 to $800 at least. At least. I really do. You know, and especially if Bitcoin pukes, you know, or it's going to go back to 55K. We know that, right? Like it's going to go down and sweep those 60s and probably to the 50s level. I don't see how it's not possible for ETH to just drop more. Right? Everybody knows this. Best traders I know, you know, we all agree that the lows are not in, right? And even Bitcoin, it's struggling to get any acceptance above. We've gone over Bitcoin a lot, right? So let's come back to ETH one last time here, and let's explain again why this cycle was just underperforming. Right? So that was our cycle low VWAP, right? Where's our previous year value area high? 2024. This was the highest point right here. Okay, and we'll change this one to, let's go white. Okay, I'll do, so we'll turn off our lower VWAP for now. But what do you guys see? Rides VWAP up, no acceptance, accepting under here into lower value, right? We're accepting our previous year high, we're accepting into lower value again, right? And it's so similar to Bitcoin, right? Look at this. You know, it tried once here to get above into lower value from, or into higher value from the all-time high, but it was just getting into the all-time high VWAP lower value range, right? Like trying to push into the higher value, it just stayed under the low value range and instantly sold off. So, I mean, I don't know what to tell you guys, right? Like, everyone was wrong and is still wrong about the cycle. Do I think it's a super cycle? I think it's an extended cycle. Like, I think Q1 is going to be good. I think into the mid-year is going to be good. But the current stage we're at now was not the right place to be bidding, if that makes sense. So, I don't know why people were that surprised. I wasn't. I shorted every single time I did this, every single time. And like we saw when Eric Trump said a great time to buy ETH and the market sank. I mean, I posted screenshots of it with Wintermute and Binance and Bitfinex all nuking the market intentionally, right? Like I don't know. Like yeah. Everything's like divergent, accepting lower. It's to me, it's not that complicated. I don't see why people were surprised or why it was a shocker. Um, but I mean, yeah, like that doesn't even change anything if I put it to this wick here. I mean, there you have it, right? You got compression, you got compression, you got compression. So what happens if you turn on our VWAPs? Look, your 30-day, right? Your white VWAP. It's exactly where ETH rejected from all this time, right? Same thing here until you rode all the way down until you got acceptance above, retested it before pushing up, right? So right, it checked in with the 90-day to make sure that was the bottom before pushing up. But look what happened instantly when these crossed. Market sank, right? That was your confirmation. The minute these crossed, that's your validation, right? But what's interesting, another thing back here too is like when the white VWAP crosses the orange, that also made sure that price never broke out again, right? And like let's go back in history here. Like let's go back to the weekly here just so we can see what's going on. Right? Like your VWAP's crossing like this, that's just bear market confirmation. Right? Crossing again, bear market confirmation. Right? Crossing again, it was a good nuke for sure. Right? Um, you're about to do it again, right? And when all these cross, like usually there's a significant drop, right? Like even if we turn off the 365 day, you could probably just use these two. Like, look right here, 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 right? Like it's always been the signal to short, right? And it's the same thing with Bitcoin, When you get these crosses, it's down until you reclaim them. You get these crosses, down, right? Every time. And if you use the 365 as well, right? When you cross, it's down. And it's crossing. It's close. Like it's about to do it again, right? Let's look back a little further here. Same thing, right? This is down. This is down. This is down. Every single time. Every time. Right? That's the same thing with Solana, right? When these guys cross downwards, that's your free short. All you had to do with Solana, dead ass. Look, if you look at it this way, swept the high. That's all it did. It just squeezed out the high a little bit. This exact date here, right? Do you guys remember that exact high on Sol? What day that was? It was exactly when Trump went into office and all the meme coins and stuff were on chain. Remember that? It was the exact day. So, I mean, the VWAPs will tell you, especially on the higher time frame. They always work. Yep. Sol is done for, and I think that's honestly why Sol's been getting this crazy cross, right? Like right here. Look at this. It's coming into cross, and it's done like 146 to 116. So they help a lot in just finding price. And VWAP isn't the only metric you can use. I've showed you guys a lot before. I showed you ETH Dominance and whatnot as well. But the fact of the matter is this market's just underperformed. Nothing went organically of how it was supposed to go. It was primarily leverage driven. We know that. Retail demand was never there. Like the Bitcoin miner profitability is down. It just hasn't been the cycle, right? And I mean, had you just stayed in stuff like Bitcoin, right, you probably would have been a lot better off with your portfolio. And I think it's a really good reminder, especially when it happened on 1010, is how thin altcoin liquidity is. Right? Not many people want that. Right? The interest isn't there. The real liquidity is in Bitcoin. Bitcoin's been the easier asset to trade too. Like it's been a lot less volatile than it has been in the past. You know, Bitcoin always does 20, 30% corrections. That's normal, right? Some of these alts literally did like 90% drawdowns or higher, right? Some like a lot did 50, a lot did 90. Like I think just it's a good reminder that like sometimes you just gotta buy the king, whether it's more expensive or what. At least having it to hedge your portfolio is good in the long term. And I do think an alt season will come back. I really do. Do I think it's right now? Absolutely not. But yeah, I mean, I hope this video was good for you guys. Let me know if you have any questions or anything. But yeah, take care.